Hi, healers. Hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to touch base for a minute. Earlier, I was talking about post-separation abuse, and I was telling you how it works, how you leave the abuser, but the abuse follows you through post-separation abuse. So, a lot of people aren't prepared for this. It's hard enough to think about getting out of the relationship, and there's so much that you need to think about. And it's hard to leave because abusers don't want you to leave, so they put up all of the stops so that you can't leave. So when you actually finally do get to leave, if you have to deal with post-separation abuse, it's really after you're finally getting on your feet, that'll take you down. So it's hard. So there's a whole nother different resources to deal with after you finally leave. You're trying to start your life, but they're doing everything they can to sabotage it. Um, I just want to talk a little bit about what we can do to stop that. So, one of the first things that you're supposed to do, and I think you already know this, most people are pretty familiar with going no contact. So, we're going to go no contact when we leave the abusive relationship or the toxic relationship. And that everyone needs to hear about no contact for a minute. That's no contact. So that means there's no physical contact, there's no driving by places where they are, there's no showing up at the same places or driving together in the same car. If they're at a family function, you should consider not going or going early and then leaving when they get there, or leaving before they get there would be even better. So I know there's times when you might have to, but you really need to think about whether it's worth it or not, depending on where you are. If it's the beginning of a no contact, then you really shouldn't have any contact. So that's number one, no contact when you are in a post separation situation from an abuser. Okay. So hopefully you can have a post separation from an abuser without being abused, right? But that's not for certain, but the no contact will help you to maybe not be abused. So you can work on that and work on yourself. Just in that meaning, contact with children through email, waiting in your car when you drop the children off, not getting out of your car, sitting in your car, meeting at places like a police station or a Walmart, somewhere where you know there's other people around, there's cameras so that you don't have to do the switch alone, right? Or having someone come with you, somebody who you trust or someone who you know is going to be there if there's any trouble with the abuser, right? So it's not always going to be trouble with them. Sometimes they just want to talk to you. But you can't just talk to an abusive person that you left, because these people have a very twisted way of telling you what they want you to believe. And so now you've already come to terms in your mind that the abuse isn't going to be tolerated anymore, but they don't want you to feel that way. They want you to feel as if there wasn't any abuse, or that what they did wasn't abuse, or that you're over the top with calling it abuse. So they want to conflict you. They want to cause you to have conflictions in your head and make it seem like you contributed to the way that they abused you. So, and that you're continuing to prove that through the post separation no contact. So, you're not abusing an abuser when you go no contact with them. You're protecting yourself. And we need to be loud and clear about that, because some people don't understand this. Now, there is nowhere where there's a law that you have to co-parent, okay? The co-parenting is something that two mature, responsible parents who are adults decide to do. And that might be because maybe they were never married. Maybe they never had abuse in their relationship, but you don't co-parent with an abusive ex-spouse. That's a no-no. It's not done, okay? So what you do is something more called parenting. Parallel parenting. It's like side by side parenting. It's like when they parent on their side. When you parent on your side. You know how parallel lines, they never touch? They always, no matter how far, they're infinite and they never touch. That means you never touch that parent again. You don't even need to have a face-to-face conversation with them. You can literally do all of your communication through the children, which is the way that I like to do it because my children are older, thankfully. Or you do it through emails or through a lawyer or through a parental contact website. But you're not to have any contact with an abuser. There's no reason to. Now there might be some health problems, but even then you might be able to go through a nurse or a doctor. So just try to work it out through somebody else, right? And if you can, or let them handle some medical decisions that like something like let them handle something. Let them handle the dental by themselves. Like just let them. If you're handling everything at home, let them handle the dental and don't have anything to do with it. They can handle taking the child to the dentist. As long as the dentist is accredited and they know what they're doing, then there isn't any reason why you need to kind of stick your nose in it. It's good for parents to be able to handle things on their own and they can get back to you or you can call and talk to the dentist yourself, right? So I don't know. I just feel like with this parallel parenting, you're giving responsibility over to the parent, the other parent. So you're not like stepping over their line onto their side. You're letting them parent the child how they want to parent them. And they're letting you parent the child how you want to parent them. And there doesn't need to be any horizontal line going through this, right? You're just going to stay apart. So if you can keep it that way, you can think about it that way, it works good because that way they don't have that opportunity to come in and to harass you, or like I said, it's always conflicting information. That's all they have to offer. Like they don't understand your perspective. They don't want to understand your perspective. Abusers only have their own perspective. That's part of the reason why they're abusers, right? They can't have empathy for other people, otherwise they wouldn't abuse them. So when you finally get to the place where you understand that, and it's going to take you some time, if you're a regular empathetic person to understand that other people don't have empathy for the situation, and if it takes you as long as me, and it's not going to, but it takes a long time. You'll finally get it one day, and then you'll be like, why did I waste so much time? And you won't want to waste another minute with somebody who has absolutely no empathy for how you feel about anything or what you have to say. They're not listening to anything you have to say. As a matter of fact, when you finally leave them, you've been telling them for 10 years that like, look, something has to be done here or you're not going to stay married. They look at you and they're like, "What happened? Why are we getting a divorce?" Like, I mean, it can really be that bad. They can really be that distant from what you're saying. They don't hear you. And that's another reason why the parallel parenting works because trying to communicate with somebody that you could never communicate with and now you're separated, then you're not going to be able to communicate with them any better. If you can't communicate with somebody you live with and you see on a day-to-day basis, then it's going to be really hard to communicate with somebody who you're separated from. So you're better off keeping that separation. And then you can look at it this way. How would you speak to your business partner? It's more like parallel businessing, right? You're not in your business partner's business and they're not in your business, and you shouldn't be. Like, we need to just keep this like this. This is a good point, too. Maybe we're getting a little bit too close in some of our relationships, right? Like at the gym or at work or wherever we are. We don't need to be getting close to everybody, right? We need to keep things professional. So think of your relationship with a co-parent who was abusive as a professional relationship now. You wouldn't tell him what you're doing on the weekends or who you're seeing, and it's none of his business. And the more he knows that your business is not his business, the better or her business, then the better off you'll be because that's a problem too. Because you're co-parenting, there's a lot of cooperation. Well, with parallel parenting, no, you're giving that parent position permission to parent the child the way that they see best. Of course, you're not going to let it go completely crazy. There's, certain guidelines, but and it's the same thing for you. They're going to let you parent the child how you parent them. And there really isn't any reason to not do it that way unless you feel like the child is unsafe. That's the only time that you're going to cross the boundary is if for some reason the child is unsafe. And so that's pretty much all I wanted to say on that. No contact, parallel parenting if you had children together, and just complete detaching. You can't get together with the family. That's another one. You can't continue to communicate with the abuser's family. And that's really hard because there might be people that you're still close with, and maybe they were even closer to you than they were to the abuser. But at this point, the abuser is going to turn everybody against you anyway. So you're just giving that person feedback to give to the abuser. So you don't want to have those types of relationships anyway. And this isn't for long term. You might want to co-parent down the road. You might want to continue to relate to the family members down the road. There might come a place where your abuser is actually safe for you to interact with in a co-parenting situation or to have a little bit more face-to-face contact. But in the beginning, that's not recommended. Thank you. I hope you have a great night.